Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Liz with Liz's Scrapping Studio, and I am so glad that you're here. So this is a follow-on video from a video I made about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, about my transition over to Stampin' Up. Um, and I wanted to do a follow-up, and then I also wanted to introduce the series of videos that you're going to see over the next 10 days or so that I'm going to be putting out. So first, I wanted to say that I have been very impressed with the Stampin' Up! Home office. They have welcomed us with open arms. They have been supporting us through lots of different avenues with their support systems, their demonstrator support, their use of Facebook groups for us specifically, launching the materials that they have purchased from Close to My Heart so that we had a transition period of products to make it easier on our customers and make it easier on us as they are starting to build the scrapbooking line. Really giving us as much support as they possibly can to make this successful. And I have to say, I have been very impressed with all of the hard work that they are doing, both behind the scenes as well as in front. And I'm really hopeful that this is going to be a very fruitful partnership now that we have moved over. I've also have to say that the demonstrators that I've interacted with that have welcomed us with open arms have really been, again, really supportive, really trying to help us as best as they can. And really taking a look at our artwork and being really excited about what we're bringing to the table. And I can't tell you, I haven't had one interaction where anyone has been upset or been concerned about this. So overall, the community that's being created, I think, has been really welcomed, and I'm really excited about that. Also, to follow up on the video that I said when I made the decision that I was going to move over to Stampin' Up, and I'll link that here if you're interested in looking at that again. But I had requested for feedback on things that you would want to see in a scrapbooking line, and you guys answered, and I really do appreciate that. So I've collated all of that, as I've said before, and now I have two avenues that I've been able to filter that information over to. One was a product and survey that talked about new products, as well as a whole scrapbooking survey that I received about a week ago. And I took all of the information that you provided me about what you're looking for in a scrapbooking line or in products, and I gave them the whole dump of information that you could think of from your perspective. So I really worked hard as I was looking at what they were planning on offering and showing us pictures of, to really try to hone in on some of the things that you guys brought to my attention. And so hopefully I did a good job of communicating that. I wrote up a lot of information in these surveys, so they were very clear about things that I was looking for, but also things that you told me you were looking for. Secondly, I didn't get selected for the advisory group, but two of my uplines team did get selected. One is super strong in scrapbooking, and the other has been around for a long time with Close to My Heart, so I'm very happy that they got selected. I also know some of the other people that got selected in other regions, and I think that there is going to be a really good group of people that are going to help Stampin' Up, uh, not only help us as coming over makers, but also communicating the kinds of things that we're looking for from a scrapbooking line, and how they can help us. And so I'm going to be sending that same type of information to that team as well, so that they also get it and can reiterate the message that I put into those surveys. So that kind of closes out that loop. But again, if you have more information or more things that you would like to talk about. If you didn't see that video or you didn't put anything down, please leave comments. I will take them and I will figure out how to get them to the right people. So, but I just would love to have your input so that I can represent you as best as I can in the Stampin' Up world. So that's an open invitation for anything that you would like to add in the conversation down below. All right, so in the last 6 weeks, it's kind of been crazy. There's been a lot of things to learn, a lot of products that I've had to get used to, a whole new back office that I've had to learn, a new marketing process. I've had to create lots of new stuff to support my business. All of that is going on. And I feel like now that I'm at the 6-week mark, I actually kind of have my feet under me, and I think I am doing better. So the back office I'm pretty comfortable with now. I got my website set up. I've been able to get orders in. I've been able to create YouTube videos and blog posts and all of the things that need to do from a business perspective. So pretty good there. And I feel like I've had some time to play around with products now, and I've learned some things. I've been researching things. I've been playing with things. So lots of stuff there. So what I thought I'd do is create a series of videos over the next 10 or so days. Some of them are going to be pretty short, just a few minutes long. A couple of them will be a little bit longer than that. But each day I'm going to release a new video around a topic, an A to Z kind of series. And I'm going to go through what I've learned and what I know about different things. So as an example, the first topic is going to be adhesives. That's an A. So we'll go through and have each one of those released each day over the next 10 days or so. And hopefully you'll get some value out of these videos that maybe you didn't know, or if you did know, just reinforces something that you did know. And I'm going to be honest in my reviews. There's some things that I'm still not all that comfortable with, or that I think maybe we could do better with, and I'll bring that up. But the whole idea of this series is break it down into bite-sized chunks and just talk about the learnings, and hopefully you guys will get some value out of it in this process. It really helps me to learn when I watch, then I do, and then I teach. I feel like then that really seats the information in my head. So enjoy the series, and as always, if you like the series, please feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe. And any comments on any of these, any helpful tips that you want to give me, I am open to all of those things. All right, I hope you enjoy the series. Bye. All right, so we are going through the A to Z's, and we are starting with the A's, which are adhesives, which are really important when you're paper crafting. And Stampin' Up! Has a lot of adhesive options available in the product line. There is the adhesive suggested use chart. I'm going to put this up on my blog at scrappingstudio.com so that if you're interested, you can pull this down. But essentially, it talks about each type of adhesive that Stampin' Up! Offers and what is it good for. Is it good for paper and cardstock? Is it good for ribbon, detailed die cuts? And there's a little star by each of the items where the adhesive is really good. So like adhesive sheets, which is a sheet that's double-sided, and you can put it on a piece of cardstock or on a piece of paper, and then put the die on top of it and run it through your embossing machine, your die cutting machine, and then the adhesive is already applied. So for really detailed die cuts, the adhesive sheet is a really good option. As well as the fine tip glue pen, which I don't have. But again, it goes through each one of these so that you know which best fits for what you're working on. So again, I'll load that onto my scrappingstudio.com website. In the catalog as well, I do think that they do a really good job of talking about all the different adhesives. They show you a picture of each one, And then they have these little icons that will tell you what is it good for. So over here on the right, if it's got a little square, that means it's paper and cardstock. If it has a spool, it's for ribbon. Embellishments is, again, you see the button pieces and things like that. Is it good to go through your die cut machine, or your die be used on your die cuts, or is it good for 3D projects? So as an example, the multi-purpose glue, the green Tombow, is good for paper, good for embellishments, good for die cuts, and good for 3D projects. Whereas the tear and tape is good for paper, ribbon, and 3D embellishments. So again, I think this does a good job of visually representing all of the adhesive options that are available and what they're good for. So if you're more of a visual person, I would say that the catalog is the better option there. So I don't have every option of adhesive that Stampin' Up! Carries, but I do have a lot of them. So I've got the Tombow, I've got the mini glue dots. So again, they just come in a roll, and you can't see them, but they're the glue dots that you can use for embellishments. I do tend to use those a lot for embellishments. So there's the mini glue dots, and the tear and tape. And this is super sticky. This you'll see sometimes in the Paper Pumpkin or the other kits as the adhesive to use on those projects, on those card projects or crafting projects. You'll see the tear tape. And what I did is I actually did a little sample of the tear tape versus the Stampin' Seal versus the Stampin' Seal Plus. So in a little bit, we'll get to that and how it best works. All right, so the adhesive sheets, again, those come as 6x12 adhesive sheets. You get 12 of those in there. I really do like these when I'm working with die cut letters and things, so that the adhesive is already on them. And again, as I said, for the smaller, more detailed die cuts, those are very, very helpful. Talked about the Tombow already. And then we've got the foam, what I would consider the foam tape category. And those, there's 5 options in the foam tape category. The standard Stampin' Dimensionals, the mini Stampin' Dimensionals, the black Stampin' Dimensionals, the foam adhesive strips, and then there's foam sheets. I do not have any foam sheets at this point. So I'm going to take a look at the foam sheets on my next purchase to buy some of those. They are 4.5 by 4 5/16 size, and you get 6 of those. All right, so the Stampin' Dimensionals, again, are these octagon foam pieces that you can do to create dimension on your cards or your scrapbook layouts. These are a little bit of a larger size, and they come in a package of 3 sheets. The mini Stampin' Dimensionals are a smaller version of those honeycomb foam pieces. So they're much smaller in size. So if we just take a look, that's the standard size, and the minis, this is where I probably should have my tool. The mini is very much a smaller size. So much smaller and much easier for those smaller embellishments. So I had just gotten these. I've been cutting up the standards dimensionals on my previous projects. So I'm going to start looking at using the minis for my projects when I'm doing my embellishments with the ephemera. So again, those are 2 of the 5 different types of foam. There's also these foam strips, and these are just singular strips. These are actually thicker than the dimensionals. So if you look at that, the dimensional is like almost half the width of the foam strips. These foam strips are meant to be used, I'm suspecting, for shaker cards, so that's why they're thicker, and definitely would be easier to create for shaker cards. What I do notice with the foam strips, I thought that they would be great for my scrapbooking for dimensionals, and they are fine, but the foam is much airier. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a little bit more spongy than I'm used to for 3D foam tape. I'm used to 3D foam tape being much denser, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I'm fearful that this will crush in our books when we're using it for elevation in something that's going to be in a book and is going to have some weight on it. It's going to have other pages laying on top of it. So that is a suggestion that I've already put in to Stampin' Up, is that we need something like this to work with scrapbooking, but the foam needs to be denser. It needs to be more sturdy for us to be able to put it in a book and have 4, 5, 6, 10 layouts laying on top of it and not crush this foam. So that's just my observation at this point with these foam strips. I was really hopeful that these would be very much a replacement for the foam the foam that we had from Close to My Heart, and I feel like it's just not going to hold up the way we need it to. So that's my evaluation of that. I think the Stampin' Dimensionals are fine. They're just not really thick enough, in my opinion, for what kind of. They're fine if we're just using thin 3D foam tape from Stampin' Up. If the dimensionals will work, it's just really annoying to have to put so many on, to not be able to cut it off of a roll or take it off of a strip like this and just lay it down. It just takes so much more time to use the Stampin' Dimensionals, and I don't feel like they're thick enough in my opinion. I will be interested to take a look at the foam sheets and see if it's the same type of foam as these foam strips are. And if anyone knows that, let me know. But this might be doable, and I could see myself easily taking this maybe in the short term and running it through my trimmer really quickly and creating my own 1/4 inch strips of foam adhesive from these foam sheets. But again, I'll have to play around with that a little bit. All right, so let's go into the real comparison that I think is super important when it comes to adhesive, which is the differences between the Tear and Tape, the Stampin' Seal Plus, and the Stampin' Seal. And both the Stampin' Seal Plus and the Stampin' Seal do have refills, which I do love. I love the fact that I don't have to throw this main case away. I can just replace the adhesive in it. And it does have a good amount of adhesive, 16.4 yards of adhesive. So I do think that the volume of adhesive is actually really good as far as that goes. All right, so some first observations in using these. I have had a problem with the Stampin' Seal. I will be honest. I have used this type of adhesive in the past, many years ago, before moving to more like a dot adhesive style. And I do find that I have a hard time getting it going when I am using it. Like if I'm not like on a perfectly flat surface, I don't necessarily get adhesive where I want. It doesn't have a full even coverage. I've just found this very difficult to use from that perspective. So the Stampin' Seal, and again, this adhesive, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, is solid. Right, it's a solid strip of adhesive that's coming off of this roller, which I thought originally would be perfect, but like I said, I feel like I'm struggling to get it actually down on the paper a lot of times. So the Stampin' Seal Plus is a little bit different, and I don't have another little strip of paper here, so we'll go ahead and fold this over and we'll use the other side of this one. This I do feel flows a lot easier for me off of the carrier sheet that is on. It does seem to lift a little bit, and the difference is that these are little perforated strips of adhesive that are coming off, so there's lines in it, and so it's a little bit different in its style and design. But I do feel like when I am rolling it, I don't have as much trouble getting it off of the carrier sheet and onto my project. Again, still playing around with it. And then the tear and tape is super simple, right? You're going to find your edge, you're going to lift it up, you're going to put it down, or you're going to tear it, right? You're just going to tear it off, and you're going to put it on your project. And then you'll lift off the carrier sheet. Again, the process of lifting off a carrier sheet is not something that I want to do all the time because it's an extra step. But again, it's got a pretty, it tears really easily and it lays down really easily. So I don't have any problems with it from that perspective. And this tear and tape is meant for 3D projects and to hold ribbon. So I'm using it in smaller quantities than I would use necessarily on my paper or cardstock. I'm not sure I would spend the time to do that. All right, so I'm going to find something to put this down on so that it doesn't stick to everything. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a pull test. I know when I am scrapbooking, I tend to move things around. I put adhesive on it, I kind of lay it. Sometimes it doesn't quite get straight, or it doesn't have, it doesn't look quite right there, especially when I am working with lots of different pieces of paper and I need to move things around. So what I did is I just created these swatch sheets where I have put the Stampin' Seal, and I put the Stampin' Seal on this piece of paper on 6/2. I did the tear tape on 6/2, and then when I got this Stampin' Seal Plus a couple of days ago, I did another sheet of that. And what I wanted to see is how did it separate? Was I able to separate it, and how did it attach to the paper? And so this one is the Stampin' Seal, which is again the solid strip coming off of the carrier sheet. This one, and this has been sitting for a week and a half or so, it does separate. It doesn't really seem to tear the paper too much, but there certainly is a lot of residue. But I am able to tear it apart fairly easy. And I can lay it back down, and I can, again, put it back. So that wasn't too bad. The Stampin' Seal comes apart a little bit differently. Hopefully you guys can see it. Because it's those individual perforated pieces of adhesive, it does seem to come apart a little bit easier. Now, it hasn't been sitting for very long. It's only been sitting for a couple of days, so I might try this after it's sat for a week or so. Don't usually move things around on my layouts after a week, but you just never know. But I'm not getting as much paper tearing or as much adhesive sticking on both sides. Again, they both seem to come up easier, but I have a feeling that if I'm trying to maneuver stuff around, this one might actually be easier to move the pieces around because of those individual adhesive separation, the separation of adhesive there. All right, so tear tape is the last one. And again, this one is going to tear your paper. You can see that did definitely tear my paper, and that's been sitting for about a week. I can stick it back down, but chances are this is going to tear my paper more than the other two are going to tear. So hopefully that was a little bit helpful for everybody to understand these various different adhesive types and how they react, and so far the ones that I like versus what I will probably be using. So I will most likely be using the Stampin' Seal Plus. I will be using the mini glue dots. I will use up the foam tape that I have, but I probably would not buy this again. And I'll definitely probably still use the dimensionals, but again, I'm hoping that possibly these foam sheets would be a better use of foam. All right, so that's number one, and we're going to move on. I'm going to clear off, and we're going to move on, talk about bundles.